Good evening, board members, the public. I'm George Batanovich. I live at 597 Old Gate Hill Road, and I'm president of the Stony Point Action Committee for the Environment. The board is assuming that this amendment to the zoning code would not have any negative environmental impacts. But I think we don't know yet. You know, there's a lot of information here we don't know. I mentioned at the public input that originally the board was considering, and the supervisor said it was only a sample, but a proposal by a company that wanted to furnish the town with what he called a free sign, or maybe two of them, according to the way I wrote it up. And I was very concerned about that proposal because it included a 20-year lease, a 20-year agreement that the town had to enter into with this company to allow the sign to be placed on either town property or private property. That there was a very limited amount, it appeared to be a very limited amount of real public value to it. It was mostly advertising. It claimed that as of the 8 different messages that would be put on the sign, each lasting about 15 seconds, only one of them would be town information, and the other 7 would be advertising. So I consider that to be an issue regarding the environment, turning our public streets into an advertising venue for advertisers. And we don't know the content of the advertising. You might claim to say you can control the advertising, but once the sign is up and running, I don't know how well you can really control what is advertised on those signs. So here you're still talking about and claiming that it's not an environmental impact. When the zoning law was made, as Frank mentioned 2 years ago in 2012, we passed a zoning law. It was an amendment to a previous zoning law that was passed even on earlier that I was part of. And at the time, the public that were actually involved in writing the original sign law were concerned that we would turn our streets into, you might see a lot of advertisers having things that blow up and move around, and things that twirl and move around, and signs that are animated and going into like a circus in some towns. And we didn't want to see that come to Stony Point. So we incorporated in the zoning code early on, before someone would come in with an application to do that, restrictions on that. Figuring that in the future we could always amend it if we wanted to, but that we didn't want to get into a situation where someone had come in already with that application claiming they had a right to do it, and here we start this, animated signs, moving signs. I mean, to me, it degrades the quality of the life in the town, and it makes it look like a circus. It makes it look like a place that I don't really want to live in. Maybe you want to be like everybody else's town, but they allow this kind of stuff. But to me, it degrades the quality of the town's life and also the historic nature of our town. If one of the premises of this law, of this company's proposal, was that it would enhance the communication to the people. Of course, you have to drive down to 9W or someplace where the sign is located to actually see what is written there. And there are more effective ways. If there were indeed an emergency, everyone kind of claims that there's emergencies, and somehow we have to have a sign or we're not safe. Amber alerts, things like this. But of course, there's other technology available, cell phones, reverse calling, ID, which the school uses very effectively to let people know if there's an emergency or a school closing, something happens and they have to send the kids home early. These are all different ways that the technology is used to communicate to people without putting signs up that are primarily, in my view, meant for advertising, not for the public good. So in the resolution that the town, in the local law that the town draft, of the local law that the town is considering, it says considering changes for the betterment to serve the public, changes to better serve the public. And I take exception with that. I don't think it's for better serving the public. I think it's better serving advertisers. I haven't heard much about this that really serves the public any better. I object to using our streets as advertising space. The law talks about placing this and turning on roadways into advertising spaces. The law talks about placing them at busy intersections along roadways, and I consider that to be a distraction. As Frank mentioned, we're teaching kids not to text and drive and and read text messages as they're driving, but it seems to be now okay to read text messages on large billboards as you're driving by at 30 miles an hour. I don't see where that's safe or a good idea. I think we've had some serious problems with people in Stony Point driving off the road of late, unfortunately with some serious consequences. And I think what we're doing here by adding this or adopting this law would be only adding to the distractions on the road and making the roads less safe, not more safe. So we have many distracted drivers as it is. Max pointed out that the resolution does not indicate what the actual size of the signs would be. I've heard 8 by 10 feet. There's an application in the local law that asks the applicant to indicate how large the sign would be. The local law does indicate that they can be as high as 10 feet high off the ground and as large as 8 by 10 feet. So you're talking about an 80 square foot sign potentially, which is a pretty large sign. So when you think about the environmental impact, I think it's hard to consider the environmental impact when you look at it separate from the actual proposal. Mr. White, you raised the question about whether this is an amendment to the zoning code aside from a specific application by a company. Now I understand from what the supervisor said that not only the company that made the original proposal, but other companies have proposals for this. Well, if the company's proposals involve placing advertising on signs, I feel a lot different about this proposal than I might feel if it was a town-owned sign and we had a limited one, maybe someplace in the town. I'm not in favor of it, but I think I would accept that a lot more readily if it was a town-owned sign that was limited to the town purchases and owns and controls the content on that sign and how it's displayed, rather than what we're looking at now is making an amendment to the zoning code that could open up the potential for any number of kinds of signs, maybe agreements that are made after the fact with companies to place this advertising, this high percentage of advertising on signs. I would consider that to be a disruption to the town's, the character of our town, and not in the best public interest. I'm glad that you're going to keep the public hearing open, but I wanted to go on record as stating that I oppose the town approving this amendment to the zoning code, and I wish you would consider the items that I have mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Is there anyone else interested? Pat?
On a small basis. Members of the board, Mr. Finn, town people. I've been concerned about the law with signs being placed, not now that there's a election, but I see businesses all around exit 14, up in our, nut trees, our poles, buy a house for $25,000 cash. Nothing has been removed. Is there a possibility that on our website we could state who is allowed to have signs, that they pay to put their signs around town? I'd be more than willing to take the...
That wouldn't take much room on the website because no one is.
Okay, so I can remove them except political ones.
Yeah.
Also, I think...
You can remove the political ones, so you're not supposed to have any signs.
No, they...
Unless it's private.
Well, we had...
Of course on private property.
We had given that, yeah. Also, I think some of our businesses are getting around the signage. I know when I come down 9W, that double-decker business area, they have these bright lights. It looks like Las Vegas. Around there, there's a nail salon, there's the gyro place. Very distracting, and I think we should not have such bright lights allowed. It really diminishes the look of our town. Yeah, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. But just so, I'm only going to bring this up because you're the second person that said nothing's getting done. If I can assure you that 90% of the signs, we get calls every day. And our Parks Department and our Highway Department are out taking them down when we receive the calls. We get ladders and above trees. I know the one on Pine Drive. They keep putting it back up there. People think we don't take it down, but they keep putting it back up there. I don't know if it's firewood or cash or car or one of those things. So we do have them. I mean, we have to be
How many because this is a persistent problem. We hear about this all the time, but it's an issue of where we're creating a deterrence. So how many citations, how many of these folks have actually been cited by the town and received some sort of a ticket for putting these advertisements up over and over and over again? They all have phone numbers on them. You got to be able to find these people. So I'd like to know how many people we've actually cited since we put the law in place, because the law is correct, and we want to cut down on that. But you have to create a deterrent. If people think there isn't going to be a consequence, then it's not going to be effective. So
I can certainly give you that number. I appreciate it from the bill department tomorrow morning. Is there anyone else in the audience that is? But I can say this. There's a lot of people. I have people bringing signs to my office all the time, and I can make the offer. Join in. It's our town. Join in. Pull the cars to the side of the road. Pull them up. I do it. I can't pull political ones up because I don't want someone taking a picture and thinking I'm going against the guy because he's against me in politics or whatnot. But the signs are there. We can all help out, and I'm not saying you have to, but it's a good thing. That's the question Mr. Silly just asked, and I'll certainly look into it. Is there anyone else? Mrs. Mully. Yes.
Gail Mulligan, 98 Lakeview Drive. And since I am here tonight, I have been following a little bit of the evolution on this zoning code change. I would too like to note for the record my opposition that the change the zoning code would have, to the extent that it allows now the electric signs to be placed around town. If the very essence of opening up the zoning code, opening up the types of signs that are permitted, is really the essence that it sounds like the town board might want, and that is to get important messages out to the community, specifically important town messages to the community. I think advertisers already have their means and ways of being able to advertise. And I think that these electronic signs really, in my opinion, are old technology, that really the town board should be looking at ways to utilize new technology, and whether that's improving your website, making it more user-friendly, looking to social media, which we all are in, whether you like it or not. Many people have access to the web, to Facebook, Twitter, and the like. And more importantly, when it comes to getting very important public safety messages out, there are a myriad of different options to use, whether it's Nixle, Code Red, and the like. And I think those are a lot more effective tools to get those messages out. They're tools that you know for certain people will see, because it sounds like you're not going to be able to have an electronic sign in every neighborhood to get those messages out. Correct. Thank you.
I'll just make a couple of responses to that. I know everyone keeps saying that everyone's on Facebook and everyone's on the website and everyone's on social media and all this other stuff. It's unfortunate because I wish people could see the calls that I get where people say they're upset because they didn't know about an event that was going on, or they didn't, how come I wasn't told, or how come, listen, we can only do so much with social media and Facebook. We do it every day, we send things out there, anything that's going on in this town is sent out through Facebook, our website, and everything else, and word of mouth. If I'm on the radio once a week, we try and get things out. At my meetings here, I try and get information out. But I just want people to realize that we're not looking to put these signs throughout town. We're looking for one sign. We're looking for one sign coming into this town at an intersection. It's not going to be driving by going 30 miles an hour looking at it. And it's certainly not the same as texting. All right, we're looking at stop signs. Is that texting? We're looking at yield signs. We're looking at all these signs throughout town. This is a sign that will, it's not a bright sign, and I agree with you about the lights around the window. That's something that should be looked into. But this is not a sign that is a bright sign that will keep people up. From the information that I've done the research on, that these signs, even at night, they glow, they're lower. And I think there is someone here tonight. I'm hoping that they will get out and speak. I do see Patrick Kilduff, one of our Stony Point, who I've known my whole entire life, gave me a call over the past 2 weeks since this last meeting, and said that he had caught this on our website, I believe, and that he wanted to come tonight and explain a few things because he works with companies like this. And I asked Patrick to come here tonight and say a few words. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, Pat. But a longtime Stony Pointer, and I asked him to come here if he would give just say a few things, just so we all know exactly what kind of signs we're working with. This is a gentleman who's been working with companies that do this for years and years and years. And when you say technology, this is top of the line technology, what we're looking for here. This is not your building we're driving down 95. So Patrick, you could just say a few words.
Thank you very much, Supervisor and members of the board. Good evening, everyone. As the Supervisor mentioned, my name is Pat Kilduff. I'm an attorney, I practice in Manhattan, I represent a bunch of major national and international media companies that specialize in the representation in the display of outdoor advertising signage. But more importantly, I grew up 20 Lighthouse Court Conference Code, so I am incredibly familiar with the rich history of our town and a lot of the heartfelt comments that people have made here tonight about the concern that we don't want to turn our wonderful historic town into Times Square. And the one thing that I can assure everyone is, at least from the companies that I represent, which does not include the company that apparently had made the presentation to the board and to the town in recent weeks, that's not what any one of the companies that I represent is looking to do. I represent a group of different companies that have looked to deploy this type of signage in communities throughout the country. And there may be an opportunity here to do something that's tasteful, that's aesthetically pleasing, that's not going to cause an issue of driver distraction, and that can provide some revenue to the town. And all I was just looking to do tonight is just to come to listen, to hear some of the concerns of the residents of the town, and then work with our clients to try to